Welcome to the New York Angels edition of the Angel Nest podcast, where real angel investors and entrepreneurs partner to build great companies. I'm David Hemingway. I'm a 5-time founder and a member of the New York Angels, where we fund and mentor great young companies. Today, we talk to the co-founder of Fixe, an automated streamlined bookkeeping service for the restaurant industry, and we'll hear how his chance meeting resulted in the New York Angels leading his seed investment round. We're happy to be joined today by Ryan Handel, the CEO of Fixe, and Simon Hopkins, my fellow New York Angel, who co-led the investment in Fixe and has served on the board ever since. A little later, we'll hear from Cindy Cook, our board chair. She'll tell us about the current state of startup investing in New York and around the country, and how she went from corporate marketing to angel investing. We don't make or recommend investments at the Angel Nest, and this program is for informational purposes only. Simon and I are in our New York studio along with Cindy Cook. Ryan joins us today from California. Thanks for being with us, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Likewise. Thanks for having us, David.
Ryan, you told me that you're a restaurant founder who saw that many of your colleagues needed help managing their books, and your co-founder, Scott Liebman, is an accounting and finance guy, but you didn't know a lot about technology or sales when you started out. I guess you figured it out because you've doubled the business, but tell us how you've done it and how New York Angels became an investor.
So basically back in 2019, I was sick of, the bookkeeping I was receiving for my own restaurant. I was spending a lot of time and money, and I realized that the bookkeepers that I was using was not using the most up-to-date technology. The restaurant industry in general, up until that point, was kind of an antiquated industry. And so, and that in tangent on, honestly, with bookkeeping as well. And so I thought that there was a better way of doing the bookkeeping while saving some time and money. So I called my partner, or now partner Scott, who was a family relative who was a financial manager by trade. And I said, hey, Scott, like the bookkeepers I'm using, they're taking too long. They're spending a lot of money, or I'm spending a lot of money with them, about $1,500 a month per location. Can you do the bookkeeping? Can you help me out with this? He's like, Ryan, I know a lot about bookkeeping, but I know nothing about restaurants. And I said, well, I got that covered. I know a lot about restaurants. And so we ended up taking over the books for my own restaurants. There was 4 at the time. And between QuickBooks Online and a few other pieces of software, some of which we kind of built ourselves from like a payroll standpoint, I was managing the books with minimal effort, 5 to 10 minutes a day of work. And at that point, we said, oh man, we should do this for other restaurants. And so I said, bookkeeping has been a traditionally unsexy industry. Let's try to spend some money on a cooler logo and make it, hip and cool again. And so we were off and running in October of 2019. That's how Fixe started. We got a couple of clients through through my network at Cornell and through a few other referrals. And then eventually it just started growing. And I'd never been a salesperson to start, but my wife said, you should start networking. You should start tapping into your Cornell, alumni resources, start reaching out some of these other restaurants that you might know. And that's how it started growing. And by 2022, when we got between like 150 or 200 locations, that's when we realized we needed some additional fuel to the fire. And that's when we decided to start raising money to really take Fixe to the next level.
And Simon, you led the deal with John. You're an engineer by training, a longtime member of New York Angels, and now a member of the board. I'm curious, what did you see in Fixe that really interested you as an investment?
Yeah, sure. So I've been an angel for the past 15 years, and I guess during that time, I've seen pitches from hundreds of companies, and I've reviewed thousands of decks. And for software companies, the pitch is always the same. It's, hey, we're a great bunch of guys, and the software product we've just bid is really clever. Just look at this whizzy demo. And if you're lucky enough to invest in us, we can build some more. And really, discussion on customers, go-to-market, revenue was at best limited and just frequently just not there. Ryan and Fixe was the polar opposite. Ryan had spotted a gap in the market, I think, as he's just described. He'd created a product and was getting revenue, real revenue from 200 clients. The opportunity that excited me was, and I think I'll be a little bit honest here, was that behind the scenes, there was a lot of manual effort going on in order to make sure that your product actually worked and you delivered the service to your customer. I knew that we could leverage technology to automate a lot of what Ryan was doing. And this would not only reduce your reliance on the account managers, it would improve your margins, And most exciting of all, it would provide you with a platform where you could really scale and grow the business. And that was hugely exciting to me.
So, Ryan, is this the kind of relationship you expected when you started contacting investors? The question with investors always is, can they bring more than money? And it seems like in this case, it's been a pretty good partnership.
It has, 100%. So uh, early on, when everyone is kind of like singing your praises, I feel like we probably might have had an opportunity to raise money earlier on if we had wanted it. But we, like you said, like we want to make sure we're getting the right money and getting people on our side to fill the gaps that we didn't know of the industry that we just didn't know. I knew how to run restaurants. Scott knew how to be a financial manager. We didn't know how to market. We didn't know how to sell. We didn't know how to build technology. And so I think we've done a good job of populating our board with people like Simon, who's very focused on the technology side, John, who's very focused and brings a lot of experience on the financial side, and then Gary, who's also now a newly New York Angel. He's really kind of trying to mold us into becoming going from a startup and being like a full-fledged company and really kind of honing in on our kind of corporate level chops, so to speak. And so we really wanted to not necessarily populate with our best friends, because our best friends would probably be singing our praises. And sometimes it's good to have like a kick in the pants every once in a while and say like, no, like we need to change just a few things up. And I'd be the first one to say not everything is like a smooth road, and sometimes you need people to point that out to you.
I'm curious to ask both you and Simon what you see as the roadmap for Fixe going forward.
So
it's a great question we're working on right now. Right now, so
work in progress.
Yeah, it is. It is something like we're honing in on. I think on that exact. I should say the specific steps that we're taking to achieve our ultimate goal. But our ultimate goal is to be the financial bookkeeping solution for every restaurant in this country, right? Like I think every single restaurant starts their financial journey on QuickBooks Online. They don't use anything else to start. And our own dashboard, our own platform, I want to supercharge that QuickBooks file to make it a restaurant specific platform that they can run their business on. And then they could grow to 20, 30, or 50 locations. And eventually someone will graduate to a NetSuite or something like that. But my goal is to keep you using our dashboard because it's so easy to use. It's so friendly to the operators in the restaurant. It really helps them understand how they're running their business, and for them to use our dashboard for a lot longer of their kind of restaurant journey before they have to go into, obviously McDonald's is not using QuickBooks Online, but I think you could get to 50 or 60 or maybe even 100 locations using what we've built, because we really simplify it and we can really enhance that QuickBooks journey. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I'd just add to that. I've learned a lot from Ryan working with him the last couple of years. And I think it's true to say that no one started a restaurant because they wanted to do the bookkeeping for the restaurant. Mm-hmm. So I think the vision that we've got to get to is we've got to meet the restaurateurs where they are, which means greatly simplifying financial details, almost abstracting financial details away from the restaurateur so they have just the KPIs and the data they need to run their business. Now, the exciting thing here is the imposition of AI is coming along, and we can actually jump a lot of the competition by leveraging kind of judicious use of AI to provide the very best, most relevant data to a restaurateur. So, as Ryan said, they go to the Fixe portal before they go anywhere else.
Yeah. Sounds like you're having fun, Simon. How much of angel investing, how much of the advantage of angel investing is really the ability to get involved with these companies at an early stage?
Oh, it's a huge part of it. It's a huge part. I mean, you look what the stock market's done over the last 10 years, or since the time I started becoming an angel, it would be a lot financially a much better return if I'd invested in Tesla stock, say. Mm. But no, you working with guys like Ryan and other entrepreneurs, it's very enlivening. It keeps you feeling young. There's a constant flow of innovation and energy, which is a huge part of why I'm an angel investor.
Right. So congratulations, Ryan, on finding and capitalizing a great opportunity. We'll be watching and following your progress. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time.
All right. Simon, I want to ask you how you got from coding to angel investing. It seems like one of the big advantages of New York Angels is there are so many different investors with so many diverse backgrounds.
Well, I think that could be a much longer story than we've got time for. But I think the brief 35,000-foot view is that, yes, I did start my career as a COBOL programmer working for what is now Accenture. I left them and I joined a small company, which would today be called a startup, which was writing software for field service engineers. Software took longer and was more expensive to develop than the company thought, so they took on some consulting work in order to get some cash through the door. That turned out to be a great decision. It took the company to IPO, and it took me through my clients working across Europe and into Asia, where I spent 5 years. I managed projects for the likes of Guinness Brewing and Singapore Airlines. I came to the US at the end of 2002 when the company, which had then been acquired, decided to reshuffle the management deck. Now, 2002 in the IT industry wasn't great. We were suffering sort of the hangover from the dot-com boom and bust and the Y2K slowdown. So after a year, I was given the task of firstly trying to sell the business in the US and then closing it down, which was probably the low point in my career. So there I was, letting go one of my management team. And he said, no, you realize there's a group of us who like what you're doing and think we're not prepared to give up yet. So that led to us actually acquiring a chunk of the business and then growing it without the kind of mothership. And we did very well. And we were able to get acquired 18 months later. I worked my butt off for 5 years trying to maximize the earnout that we'd been given. And when that came to the end, I stepped away, reintroduced myself to my family, and pondered what I was going to do next. And the guy who'd helped us sell the business introduced me to the New York Angels, and kind of the rest is history. So.
I love those stories about how something that seems like it's a disaster, seems like it's the worst thing that's ever happened in your life, can end up leading to something great.
Yeah, no, it's the phrase about it's darkest just before the dawn, and it certainly, with hindsight, felt exactly like that, yeah.
Yeah, and one door closes and another door opens, right?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. Now we want to bring in Cindy Cook. Cindy's the board chair of the New York Angels, and I want to hear what the state of startup investing is in New York, and I want to hear a little bit about your story. Cindy, welcome to the Angel Nest. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
The world is in a kind of crazy place, and every day brings new news and things changing with tariffs and other things coming from the White House and beyond. But the one thing that is still true is that there are great startup companies that are looking for funding. And that is really what the basis and what we do at New York Angels. So while there's so much going on in the world that we can't control, we can control seeing a lot of great companies and deciding which ones we're going to invest in. And as a matter of fact, in April, we had one of our strongest months where we invested over $2.8 million across a number of companies. So it was a very strong month for us. We also had almost a record number of companies apply for funding. So we had quite a large funnel to choose amongst. And we screened a number of companies that all have, good promise. So we are seeing, better quality things come in. We have more people interested in potentially joining. So I would say we feel, very, very bullish right now that there's still, and even more than still, there's a lot of interest in investing in new companies. And there's a kind of old sort of feeling saying that, in bad times, startups are a good place to go. So
right. Makes a lot of sense, right? You should do the opposite of what, the public markets are doing, maybe.
I also think there's a level of direct control. You can't control the public markets. You can be part of a fund and you're, along for the ride. But when you're doing angel investing, you're the one making the decisions. You're the one deciding if you think the founder is someone you want to invest in. You're the one who's analyzing the business, and you're the one writing the check ultimately. So the direct control, I think, is the other thing that appeals to people in this time.
One of the things founders tell me is that the difference in New York Angels is that our group is primarily professional investors, as opposed to moonlighters or occasional investors. And I think, that's really a point of differentiation for the people who are out there looking hard for investment.
Yes, I think on a number of different levels. We're really a professional angel investing group. We have 2 full-time employees who help keep the wheels on the bus. We have a very defined process of how we vet companies and how we do screening. We also can leverage the depth of knowledge across the member base. And that is, I think many of us consider that our secret sauce, which is we can always bring some expertise to deals we are considering. So whether you have expertise yourself or you don't, you can be part of a deal and feel you're going to understand a lot of how the business works to make an informed decision whether you're going to invest.
I think many investors join with the idea of finding opportunities in their particular vertical, but they find such a broad knowledge base at New York Angels, they end up almost doing the opposite. They end up using it as a way to learn about all of the other opportunities.
I think that is one of the exciting things about being part of New York Angels, because you do see so many different kinds of companies. And I, too, thought I would invest in a number of the segments that I have experience in. And I find I'm drawn to a lot of other things as well. So it's not as parochial as I thought I was going to be in terms of really sticking with my knitting.
Now, speaking of your experience, tell us how you got from a corporate marketing person to an angel investor. That's a long ride, right?
In a lot of ways, it's a long ride, but a short ride. I was very fortunate to work for large companies in times of innovation and change. And I was doubly fortunate that I was in leadership roles helping effect that change. So in many instances, I worked in like a startup mode within a larger company. So working on new products, be it low alcohol beverages or introducing commercial digital music or doing online gaming when that was just becoming popular, or mobile games. We were some of the first games out there. Across my career, I've worked on a lot of different innovative kind of products or services within large companies. So when my corporate career came to an end, I was looking for what my next gig was going to be, so to speak. And I was brought through a friend. I came to a New York Angel meeting and I was hooked. I thought, I'm learning. This is so interesting. These seems like they, number them, you get smarter as you do it, but, there was a real spark. So that is how I moved from this kind of corporate person into an angel investor. And the other thing is you have to roll up your sleeves as an angel investor. You're doing the analysis, you're doing, you're looking at the financials, and so you develop or kind of refresh yourself on skills that you maybe haven't used in a while.
Excellent. And now you're our fearless leader.
Well, I am embracing being the chair of New York Angels. I've been the chair for a little over a year, and I'm finding it really exciting to think about ways we can keep improving on an incredibly strong operation in terms of bringing in better and better deals, providing more tools and education for our members, and just the, sort of general, and working with founders. How we can help founders more is another area we're really exploring as to how we can be more involved with founders and help them through our expertise as well as our networks.
That's great. Cindy, tell us how investors who want to broaden the networks or founders looking for funding can best get involved.
Well, we're an open door. We would love to have people come in who are interested in investing, in angel investing, and for founders as well. We are screening companies every month. We have a whole vehicle via the GUST platform. So I'd say the best place to find us is newyorkangels.com. And, we'd love to meet more investors and meet more founders.
Great. Cindy Cook, Board Chair of New York Angels, and Simon Hopkins, friend and fellow New York Angel investor. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, David.
Thank you, David.
And we appreciate you listening to this special New York Angels edition of The Angel Nest. I'm David Hemingway. Tune in next month for a look at Magellan AI and how they track podcast advertising and help some of the biggest names in media figure out who's listening and which messages are actually working for advertisers. Remember, we don't make or recommend investments at The Angel Nest, and this program is for informational purposes only. We produce The Angel Nest with help from Rob Higley and Charles de Montebello. He's at the controls of CDM Studios at the historic Art Deco Film Center building just west of Times Square in New York. So long until next time.